And hello there, it's me, your humble servant, Uparsin, and today we're going to continue playing visual novel Shoen no Virche, Error Salvation. We're continuing Yves' route. We finished the route at the beginning of the second chapter yesterday, and we learned quite a bit about Yves. First of all, we've learned that he's a little goody two shoes, too kind for his own good. Too kind for his own good. And we also have learned the secret behind that so called kindness. We have learned that he is constantly sacrificing himself for the sake of others and stretches his love to every single one around him because of us, actually. We've got some hints that in the day when he saved our life, Anko did something to him, or at very least was somehow connected with the consequences. These consequences are the hideous burn on his face that looks so monstrous, so horrific, that anyone who looks at it becomes scared and disgusted, abnormally scared and disgusted. Because of that scar, he was disowned by his own parents. Because of that scar, his life was almost ruined, at least on some point. Later, it seems like disguised Anko himself brought Eve a mask that can hide the scar and hide the effects, remove the effects the scar have on other people. But still, despite that all, since that time, Eve is eager to find the love he seeks, the love he longs for, he's longing for in other people. He wants someone who will love him as a person that he is. And so far, he didn't succeed in his search. But he decided that only by loving everyone he may find a chance on someone who will love him in return. Not just accept out of pity or gratitude, but really love. Also, we can assume that he may have pain issues, like pain sensitivity issues, in terms of lower pain sensitivity. But it's still hard to say whether he doesn't really feel it properly, doesn't really feel properly pain and poisons, or if things are somewhat worse and he just endures everything without showing a sign. The next day, the fever Eve had last night was nearly gone after a long, well-deserved rest. Fever was caused by an attack. One person whose girlfriend dumped him for Eve, just after seeing Eve's face once, got mad, jealous, and decided to kill Eve, and stabbed him with a poisoned knife. Maybe it's just a matter of taste rather than whether you're a good cook or not. I responded to Eve as I chopped some freshly picked vegetables. I'm glad he's feeling better already. To be honest, I was a bit scared. scared that my curse of misfortune might cause him to die as a result of his wounds. But he turned out completely fine. Anku must still be suppressing my power as death. It's very possible that Yves falling through the church roof had something to do with me, but... Well, indeed, Club. He only gave people fugu fish. What can be wrong about it? If I kept criticizing myself over something that couldn't be proven, I would only be bothering him. I just had to be more careful. I was still resolved to continue life without being too critical on myself. I then looked down at the ingredients that Eve prepared. Most of them were normal, but now that I had a closer look, I noticed an unusual ingredient on a table similar to the fish from before. Eve, can I ask where you got all these ingredients?
基本的に海から漂着した新種の魚や植物の種子から自分の庭で育てて、家に伝わってる口伝を元に処理してから問題ないか自分で試した上で調理してるよ。ほら、この間出した魚みたいに。
There's something faulty about his method if it caused everyone to collapse. You must really love all sorts of food.
執念っていうか、これはもうじいさまや口伝を残した祖先からの遺伝かもね。俺は特に顕著らしくて、昔とんでもないものを食べようとした時はさすがにじいさまに叱られたな。
That doesn't surprise me. In any case, wait a second, I need to close the balcony. I'll be back. Good. Now I'm fine. Just like fish from the last time, we're doomed. No, Club, we are not doomed because the one responsible for cooking today is Ceres. And, well, it will be explained why his culinary is so punitive. Actually, I'd say that you can already get a hint from... Well, it's not said explicitly, it requires exactly to guess correctly, but yeah, you can already assume why his culinary is so bad. In any case, it seemed like he had grown out of his curiosity just enough to not eat anything that was obviously inedible. The only ingredients he prepared were the ones with potential to not cause harm. Of course, Eve tasted everything before serving it to anyone, but still.
なぜかみんなからはそっと料理とか殺人料理とか言われるんだ。ひどいよね。俺はみんなのために愛を込めて一生懸命作っているだけなのに。
That does sound horrible. Aside from Eve, Mathis was able to eat everything that was served. I wonder why. Which means the ingredients themselves couldn't be poisonous or harmful to eat. I wondered if that meant the dishes were bursting with so much flavor that everyone else was just startled.
というわけで、君から食事当番の座を取り戻すためにも特訓しようと思って。今日からしばらくよろしく、先生。隣でじっくりその技術を盗ませてもらうからさ。
And yeah, that killer food is not a joke. I'm not as good as a chef, but if watching me can help. Sensing his willingness to challenge himself, I turned toward the small fish in the bowl, which was jumping again in fear. Looks like Puffy jumping around again.
服
Your fish over there. It's round and puffy, so I just started thinking of it as Puffy. Yeah, It's fugu fish. Exactly. And fugu means puffy. The word fugu means puffy. It describes how it looks. After feeding it a few times, it sort of grew on me.
かわいい名前だね。俺も今後はそう呼ぼうかな。彼女からの愛に応えて大きく美味しく育つんだよ。福。
Eve sounds like a predator. Puffy must feel like a criminal waiting to be executed. In any case, after all that talk about him yesterday, I was glad to know that he was still approaching me with his usual kindness. I was thinking of preparing some stew for everyone at the court today. Would you like to help, Eve? Having him cut some vegetables shouldn't do any harm.
もちろん。ああ、それなら収穫したばかりの変わった芋があるから倉庫から取ってくるよ。
Potatoes? I guess that wouldn't change the flavor of the stew, so it should be fine. Oh. Here we go again. I wonder what exactly did he dug out of that storehouse. Dr. Cappuccino, it's Eve. Eve's skin.
未知の食材を素手で触り、皮膚の一部が溶けて腫れたと。言うまでもなく、食材が保有していた毒性によるものだろうね。
前は手袋をつけて収穫したから全然気がつかなくて。
相当痛むはずなのだが、例によってなぜそんなにも平然とした顔をしているのかね。まあいい。これに懲りたら二度と触ることのないように。
いやでも何かしらの調味料や植物と混ぜれば案外いけるんじゃ。
触ることのないように。たかが食材で彼女に心的外傷を負わせるつもりかね。
あっ、
His skin. Your skin. I did it again.
あー、ごめんセレス。こんな傷見たら嫌でも思い出すに決まってるよね。
This isn't about me. You need to take better care of yourself, Eve. And so, another day of interesting events passed. Life at Kurun continued to be peaceful. Mother, I'll be going to help Eve again today.
おお、毎日遅刻しねえとは感心感心。用意してくれる飯もうまいし、大助かりだ。
おはようセレス。今日もたくさんの依頼が入ってるから頑張ってこなしていこうね。
Okay, I'm ready to help anytime. No, a puffy is a fugu fish. Like a poisonous Japanese fish. Deadly poisonous Japanese fish. And what is potato? I'm not actually sure what that was. I don't know. Most likely it's some sort of also Japanese crop or root or something. But if we're speaking about a chemical compounds that could cause it, I think we have something similar here, Klopp. I think it may actually some plant with chemicals similar to furanocoumarins in Bolshevik. I mean, Bolshevik Sosnovskого. Yeah, so I would assume it may be something that affect the skin that way, causing a rapid raise of light sensitivity so that even dim light can cause severe burn, blisters on skin and everything. Vesicles with liquor stuff. Ouch. I was greeted by two familiar voices before starting my day here.
いやあ、壊れた屋台を直してもらった上、飾り布まで綺麗にしてもらって悪いね。
見事なもんだ。男手だけじゃこうはいかないよ。
Well, I'm glad I could be of help.
なんでお前が自慢げなんだよ。
友達が褒められて誇らしくなるのは当然のことでしょ。
Doesn't seem like the fish are biting.
釣りには根気がいるからね。でも本当に釣れない。明日の朝までに納品できなかったらどうしよう。
心配すんな素人ども。この釣りの天才ヒューゴ様がなんとかしてやる。ほら釣れた。この調子で今日の夕飯分まで釣り上げてやるさ。
Wow, it's huge. You're amazing, Hugo.
さすが釣りの天才。
I wish nobody would clip that out of context.
もっと褒めたたえろ。俺の機嫌が良ければ良いほど大物が釣れるようになるぜ。
はい、それでは皆さん、今日も外部との交流を兼ねてクルーンのお兄さんたちと一緒に思う存分遊びましょう。
イブ兄ちゃん、ヒューゴ兄、いつもみたいに剣士ごっこしよう。
僕らが自警団役やるから兄ちゃんたちは悪い近衛兵役ね。
おいおいガキども、配役が逆だろ。俺らこそが正義の自警団様だぞ。
それ以前に近衛兵たちは別に悪い人たちじゃないんだけどどう訂正したものかな。
Well,
じゃあそこのお姉さんはこっちで私たちとお裁縫しましょう。
do you mean me?
お姉ちゃんだってクルーンの一員なんでしょ。変な噂があっても気にしたりしないわ。
いやー、皆さんがご縁を引き受けてくれて助かりました。
Club, can you please explain me why do you find it wild? I think that the idea itself, was... And yeah, it's the hat without a coat. He's charming, isn't it? I wish I was dressed like him. I wish I looked like him. I wish I was him. But yeah, Heraclip Sosnovsky, well, first of all, it was specifically selected, like, it was specifically breeded to be used for silage. And, well, it didn't have the toxin initially. You see, initially Heraclium didn't have that effect. Exactly, attempts to breed in new kind of Heracliums that can be more effectively used for silage. Was just really had really good potential. It grew as a really high plant with a large amount of raw mass that can be used for silage later. To feed the livestock. It could grow almost everywhere. It wasn't picky. It was hard to destroy. It was durable. But then it turned out that first of all, if it worsens taste qualities of meat and of milk of that livestock that was fed by Heraclium, as was learned later, too late. And B, well, there were a few mutations, unexpected mutations, which caused it to become extremely invasive, and extremely toxic. And right now, it's considered to be a huge ecological threat. And, well, at some neighboring countries, it is severe enough to be considered a biological weapon.
僕ってばほらこんなに若々しくて可愛くて品もあるのでクーネに降りると絡まれやすいんですよね。
Feel free to use it for your campaigns.
そうそう、セルネボルの方でも例の事件をきっかけにクルーンさんの評判はじわじわ広まってますよ。特にシアンさんは新聞をこまめに買って皆さんの活躍ぶりを逐一確認してるみたいですし、そのうち依頼があるかもですね。
Cian? That's a surprise.
そういえばこの間の手当のお礼をしてないな。本当に依頼があれば何かしらのお返しができるんだけど。マティス？
Excuse me, but can I move yet?
ダメです。あと少しで構想が固まりそうなのでじっとしていてください。やっぱり主人公の姿はイブさんそのものより少し凝らした方が。
どうかもうしばらくの辛抱を。お二人をもとに一連の事件を追う過程を小説として描くのだと。坊ちゃんは張り切っておいでなんですよ。
Yeah, I know what do you mean, but still.
新しい生きがいを見つけるってのはいい傾向だな。ええ、屋敷にこもっていても入ってくるご友人たちの活躍ぶりに触発されたのやもしれませんね。
夜遅くまでお疲れ様。俺が入れたものでよければ紅茶でもどうぞ。
Thank you very much, Yves.
何かブローについてめぼしい情報は見つかった？
No, not yet. The only person I found so far was a man who looked to be a martial arts enthusiast. But he didn't have the same build, and he's already dead, so I don't think it's him.
あ、それもしかして俺たちの師匠の記録じゃない？一回だけ家の掃除を頼まれたことがあったような。
Ah, I see. The record did say that he was the leader of the Corps. I guess it isn't going to be easy finding relevant information.
そうだね。けど焦ることじゃないし、ゆっくり調べてみよう。俺も一緒に手伝うからさ。なんなら各依頼を受けた時の思い出話でもしようか。
That sounds great. I'd also love to hear how you started Kurun.
なあ、聞いたかい？例の死神の娘の話。 よりにもよって被害者のイブと行動してるとはな。
おいおい、そんな言い方するなよ。いざ近くで見てみれば結構な器量よしのいい子じゃないか。
うんうん、仕事も丁寧だし、無茶をしがちなイブのこともうまく補佐してるしな。
何よみんなして、何も起きないからって手のひら返して。
思ったより怖くないのが事実でしょ。イブを狙ってたからって変な妬み方するのやめなさいよ。
お、噂をすればだ。おーい、お二人さん、今日は二人きりでの相引きかい？
Hey.
いつも仲睦まじくて羨ましいね。俺も恋人の一人や二人でも作りたくなっちまうよ。
恋人にばかり夢中になってないで、たまにはうちの店に遊びに来なさいよね、イブ。
Upon seeing us walking together, the other resident began teasing us. Eve and I quietly continued on our way back to Karun to see Hugo, who had to do some work on his own.
なんかごめんね。俺と二人で行動する機会が多いせいで変な噂が広まっちゃったかな。
Don't worry. You don't need to apologize. I hadn't expected that they would be staring and whispering about us both now. I'm just relieved that they're actually talking to me. It's like a dream. I'm not upset at all. In fact, I'm so happy that I could cry. Eve smiled at me happily. His honesty and open heart, along with teasing from the others who knew him, made me feel ticklish in a way I couldn't describe. Klopp says, if we're on it, there is a spell, Diminish Plants, in Pathfinder. It does exactly the opposite effect to the plant's growth spell, reducing potential productivity of all the normal plants within a range of half a mile over the course of the following year to half normal. And now the druid himself becomes biological weapon. Well, it sounds somewhat logical. I mean, I can see the point in it. If wizard can be used in wars, why not to use them that way? Like wizards, druids, priests, and other spellcasters. This is one of the ultimate being a dick to commoners spells. Well, sounds attractive sometimes. I didn't know that Yves was someone who could love anyone freely, even if it wasn't me. I returned his smile with that in mind. We returned to Korun. I was on meal duty for the Corps and planned to head to Adolpheth with them before Eve's patrol shift tonight. With Hugo by our side, we brought the cooked dishes and drinks to Adolpheth's house.
あ、今日もアドルフ妹の作った飯はうまそうだな。酒にもよく合いそうだ。
どれどれ、早速味見を。
どう？特訓の成果を見せようと思って一品だけ俺が作ったのをこっそり紛れ込ませてみたんだけど。
久しぶりに犠牲者が出た。
失敗か。今回こそうまくできたと思ったのに。
てめえイブふざけんな。何のための当番交代だと思ってやがる。
The members of the choir had come to terms with my cooking and actually welcomed it with open arms now. I was used to seeing my meals and drinks spread out across the table, with everyone fighting for the first helping.
そうか。ブローの身元はまだ割れてないか。
As everyone continued to eat and chat, I went over to talk to Adolphe and share what information I learned so far.
こっちもこっちで変死事件が流行り病や薬によるものじゃないかと調べてはいるが。
進展なし。
Hello, someone else. It's nice to see you here.
ああ、あれ以来同様の事件は起きてないが、かえってそれが不気味に感じる。
Как ты? Как день сегодня? Были ли сегодня какие-то новости от... Ты знаешь.
ただの杞憂ならいいんだが、病や薬の可能性を考えると楽観視はできない。安全だと確信を得るまでは各自体調には気をつけろよ。
Yeah, I will. I then glanced at Yves. Yves, are you going to spend the night here after your shift?
うん、多分お酒で潰れちゃうしね。君はどうする？自警団にもだいぶ馴染んできたんだし、一緒に食事するのもいいと思うけど。
だな。たまには夜更かしも悪くねえだろう。
I suppose. Well, if you all don't mind. Adolphe, is it all right?
後片付けの要因が増えるのは助かる。
I couldn't help but chuckle as I remembered the chaos from last time. Eve, if you don't mind. Here, some of your favorites to snack on tonight. You should have some if you get hungry.
いいの？ああ、ありがとう。大事に食べさせてもらうよ。
Я... Прости. Рад это слышать, someone else. Правда рад. В плане настроения, самочувствия, так сказать, или способности к активности, или то и другое. Klopp says, as we know, the efficiency of a typical medieval farming household was drastically less efficient than modern farming, and only produced 10 to 25% surplus food above the requirements of the farmers themselves. So cutting food production in half means this spell is basically cost famine. And yes, it is. And it actually depends on the culture, because imagine casting that spell at countries of rice culture. Like, just imagine. Imagine casting the spell that cuts the crop's production, the main crop production, in half, in a place where 90 to 100% is used. Like, almost everything is consumed, where population is directly related to the amount of rice produced. Someone else говорит, настроение постабильнее стало, что ли? Это тоже хорошо. Это, ну правда, я рад это слышать. Это вот сегодня или уже пару дней так? Hi, Lazy. Nice to hear it. Hello, Lost. Sorry, is something wrong? If you want, I can translate what I'm saying in Russian in English for you. Klopp says, some planetary crimes we're talking about here. Indeed so. Lazy, how are you? How was your day? Are you going to stream tonight?
ああ、お熱いことで。もう夫婦にしか見えねえや。
Eve and I froze as everyone hollered with excitement. Despite not drinking a drop of wine yet, the noise continued well after everyone came back from their rounds. Lazy Nightmare says, I'm so tired I couldn't sleep until 10 a.m., so I'm not sure if I'll stream, to be honest. Understandable. Well, if I'm allowed to advise, I would advise you to take care. I would advise you to take care of yourself, to not overexhaust your body, because you have only one. There are no spare ones. You can't become a reliver. Okay, 20 minutes ago. Let me rewind. I could have possibly. Do you mean the message "you look nice" though? Or something else? Sorry, Lost. I'm just not sure what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I just was embarrassed to pronounce it aloud. Сегодня, говорит someone else. Не исключено, что это из-за таблеток бета-макса, которые я нашел для себя. Возможно. Я вообще-то говорил тебе, что я в сторону антипсихотиков атипичных смотрю с большим оптимизмом, чем... I will, says Lazy. I'll take another nap. It's nice to hear. Thank you. Club says, and they are actually equal in power to the archdevils and demon lords. I'm not sure about power. Not that I disagree, I'm exactly not sure. But about the effects of their spells, indeed. Despite not drinking a drop of wine yet, the noise continued well after everyone came back from their rounds.
セースの料理があるといつもよりお酒が吸うね。俺が持ってきたこのお酒も全部開けちゃっていいかな。
いいぞいいぞ、俺たちが許可する。
ありがとう、みんな愛してる。遠慮せずに好きなだけ飲んでいいからね。
それでこそお人よし。俺たちも愛してるぞ。
It sure is peaceful.
お前の中の平穏の基準はどうなってんだ。
Everyone kept eating as they drank. I sat on the sofa looking around the room at the festivities as Adolphe and the others continued drinking.
いつものことだろう。むしろ被害者が減った分、マジでジョーちゃんは自警団にとっての救世主だぜ。俺もクルーンで安全な飯が食えるようになったしな。ま、イブが潰れたら俺が介抱するから心配すんな。
いつものことだが、イブ以外の面倒を見るつもりはねえんだな。だがまあ、今回ばかりは羽目を外しても許してやるか。イブと行動を共にしてるおかげで、お前の死神の噂も少しずつ薄れてきたからな。
Adolphe looked at me with his drink in hand.
何より、本当にいい顔をするようになった。あいつにお前を預けて正解だったな。
It's because you and Mother wholeheartedly supported me, Adolphe. It's really fun being with Yves. It feels like my world is expanding every day. In fact, I've been laughing so much lately that my jaw's hurting.
今までの反動だな。
ところでクーネの方で広まってる噂は本当なのか？
Rumors? Lost says, I kinda want to be a horse during medieval times. Can you please explain why? Well, I mean, I would agree that during medieval times, being a horse is better than being a woman. You will be far more respected and well treated. But still.
お前とイブが恋人同士だという。
What? I blushed at Adolphus' sudden inquiry. It's not true at all. Everyone had just misunderstood since we're often seen working together. And I think Eve is too good for me anyway.
そうかね。
Adolphe and Hugo were among the very few who knew about how Eve got the burn scar on his face.
あいつは外面だけなら理想像を詰め込んだような男だ。女に言い寄られることも少なくない。うかうかしてると横からかっさらわれるぞ。
He spoke in a low voice before taking a seat, and my face flushed bright red as if I was the one drinking. Where did that come from, Adolphe? Don't surprise me like that. It's not like I can.
おい、アドルフ、無責任に煽ってやるなよ。イブはリライバーになるんだぞ。今のあいつと恋をしたところで帳消しになるのは目に見えてんじゃねえか。
それは分かってるが。
Well, you know, it's not like I really know Eve, and I've never seen him in that way before. Klopp says, during medieval times I would love to be a real wizard, but sadly they don't exist, which is a huge flaw of them. And Adolphe is being somewhat silly here, but he's so serious that he is silly. Generally. Lost says, I started wondering about being a horseman's horse and going on adventures, but at the same time I don't want to be stabbed. Relatable. Relatable. Lost, I mean, if Klopp would be a real wizard, he could avoid being killed for witchcraft by using witchcraft. I'm fine just being his friend. Despite the words I said, I felt a strange prickling in my chest. How arrogant of me. I should be happy that he didn't harbor a grudge toward me over what happened. As the person responsible for his scars, wanted to be more than friends was something I could never wish for.
お、イブがとうとう潰れた。いつもよりだいぶ飲んだな。一人で3本開けたか？両妻ちゃん、旦那の世話を頼むぜ。
The man brought Yves by the shoulder and proceeded to drop him right beside me. His head wobbled, obviously groggy, and before long he slumped over with his head right on my lap. What am I supposed to do?
少し待ってろ。他の連中も潰れる頃合いだろうし、全員分の寝床を準備してくる。
After a brief sigh, Adolphe dragged two of his men across the floor or outside of the room. As if that was a signal to tell everyone that the party was over, The others in the room began helping up those on the floor and followed after Adolphe. A few moments later, the only ones seated were me, Yves, and Hugo. Lost Heart says the club. You could enslave everyone and be nice to them if you're the real deal. Okay. I guess you found each other.
嫌じゃなけりゃ寝床の準備が済むまでそのまま膝枕してやってくれ。泥酔したイブは寝相が悪くてよ。油断すると部屋のあちこちに移動しちまうんだ。
Okay. I looked down at Eve, who was snoring softly. Okay. Noticing how soft his hair looked, I stroked it gently. Eve rubbed his cheek against my lap. Not just once, but repeatedly, as though he was snuggling against me. Eve, that tickles. I've had enough of your shit, and, well, I've had a lot of your shit, and I enjoyed it. So it's not enough, I want more. I mean, we have even played together. And Lost, you're a sweet and nice person. It wasn't surprising to see Adolphe bring his face down on Eve's head, but Eve didn't budge or react one bit, and instead continued to sleep soundly. He is kind of cute like this. It was strange to think of how much more innocent he looked when asleep.
暑いね。俺も可愛い恋人に膝枕してもらいたいわ。知ってるか？今クーネではあいつらの影響で恋人を作るやつが増えてるんだってよ。
そりゃあんな仲睦まじいところを見せられたら羨ましくなっちまうよな。どうせリライバーになったら消去されるし、恋愛感情なんて持つだけ無駄だと思ってたから適当に相手を見繕おうと思ってたけど。
だな。俺も本気で恋できる相手探してみるか。
Shoot. I completely forgot that I was in clear view of everyone.
聞こえてんぞお前ら。当人たちの話も聞かずに勝手に盛り上がんなよ。
なんだよヒューゴ。こんなの冗談に決まってるだろ。
珍しく突っかかってきてどうしたよ。さてはお前も彼女のこと気に入ってんのか？
は？
Of course not. He is into Eve.
三つどもえってやつか。確かに男二人女一人の生活で意識しねえ方がおかしいよな。
バーカ、冗談でもやめろ。んな下心はみじんもねえよ。セレスは年の離れた妹みたいなもんだ。
Clock says, I'm not even sure what version of a wizard I would like to be. D&D like is easy and relatable, but there are far more interesting choices. And then he adds, Core R will talk problems on his head soon. Yeah, he will.
リライバーにもなってるってのに、今さら女に興味を抱くとかねえよ。この人吉の世話で精一杯だ。
Hugo looked over at Eve as he continued to sleep when, after a light cough, He quickly grabbed his chest with his right hand. Hugo, are you alright? Are you feeling okay?
ああ、話し込んでる間に結構な量を飲んじまったかな。
Is he already dying?
俺まで潰れる前に施設まで送ってくわ。これ以上遅くなるとシスターも心配するだろう。
It was probably Eve's job to take me back, but Hugo chuckled and got ready instead. Eve was left to Adolphe, and Hugo ended up escorting me back to the orphanage. But
少しあんたに聞きたいことがある。
we ended up at the bar instead. I was surprised he could drink more. Hugo ordered a small glass of liquor and took a sip as we sat at the counter. This is so strange. I took a sip of my tea to settle my unease. Come to think of it, Eve had always been with two of us in the past. This was the first time I was spending time with Hugo one-on-one.
女と飲むのは久しぶりだな。昔の俺ならこのまま口説き落として2階の寝室まで連れ込んでたんだが。
は？
冗談だよ。悪かったな。けどあんただってガキじゃないんだ。この程度の話題くらいなら平気だろ。
Well, you just surprised me. Is there someone you're seeing now, Hugo?
いや、昔はそれなりだったが、今はクルーンが忙しくてさっぱりだ。
Hugo laughed and waved his hand to show that he was joking.
さて、じゃあ適当な話題で場の空気もほぐれたところで、本題に入るか。聞きたいことっつっても別に大したことじゃねえ。イブのことを深く知った上で、抵抗なくあいつのそばにいるあんたのことが、どうも不思議で仕方なくてよ。あいつのことをどう思ってるか、この際聞いてみたいと思ったんだ。生半可な気持ちであいつのそばにいるなら、嫌でも離れてもらうことになる。
His voice suddenly went sharp. Hugo was staring at me with sullen eyes and his drink in hand.
クルーンで働きたいと申し出る人間は過去にも少なからずいたんだよ。だがその誰もがあいつの度が過ぎた博愛という名の異常性についていけなくなるか、仮面を外す姿をたまたま見て化け物と罵りながら出ていった。慕われる数に対し親しい相手が数える程度しかいねえのはそれが理由だ。
He went on to say that the members of the Corps were able to get along with Eve because they didn't ever get too close. It was then that I finally realized what he was really trying to say. So, what you're telling me is that you think I'm like them, and that you're worried that I might turn my back on him one day.
アドルフの妹であるあんたがそんな人間だとは思ってねえが、念のためにな。けど他の人間よりは信頼してるぜ。イブの無茶に引かずについてこれた女はあんたが初めてだ。
Hugo chuckled as he swirled the liquid in his glass. It was easy to picture Eve sitting where I was sitting now. I could imagine them both drinking, with Eve so drunk that Hugo would have to help him. It's the same with you, Hugo. After all, you and Eve have been partners for a long time.
俺だって最初はあいつを未知の生物だと思ってたよ。けどそんなあいつとだからこそ俺は新しい人生を歩めるようになったんだろうな。
The liquor he drank had reddened his cheeks and loosened his lips. In the clamor of the bar, Hugo began to talk about his first encounter with his partner. I was born in Shadis to a wealthy family. I actually used to have a last name like Lucas Proust, but I got rid of it. My family has a long history of doing business with the royal family and given huge donation to the institute. We weren't as wealthy as the Claude family, but we had enough that I didn't need to work a day in my life to become a reliver. My father had a younger brother with quite a few years between them, so I didn't have to worry about problems becoming an heir. I had it made and only needed to say what it was I wanted next. A life without any worries. I assumed that was something normal, and took it for granted without much thought. When I first died and revived as a reliver, it was only because my family told me to, not because it was what I wanted.
必死に金を稼いでる連中に聞かれたら殴られても文句言えねえよな。
But one day, my life of debauchery was completely overturned. I met someone who would change my life. It was 18 years after I came back as a reliver. So, technically I was 40 years old. I just happened to swing by a certain bar in Coin after hearing good things about it. It was there that I met...
大丈夫？辛いなら家まで背負って送ろうか？
うるせえ！俺のことは放っておいてくれ！
A young man offered his hand to help some dirty-looking man, completely drunk and slumped on the floor of the bar. I met Yves when he was 14 years old. Rather, it was more than that I found him. I noticed him because of that mask on his face, but he didn't really have any reason to talk to him.
自分から酔っ払いの相手をするなんて酔狂なやつだな。
That was the only thought that came to mind. I did like the drinks they served there, so I decided to come back again. 3 days later...
もう少し詳しい話を聞かせてほしいな。
は？
Could you believe it? He was actually talking to the same drunkard as before, and still offering help. I had to know what was up, so I asked the bartender, who told me everything. Turns out he was listening to him ramble on endlessly, responding to each drunk without any drinks to help him through the ordeal. The bartender didn't want any part of it, so he let the kid handle the situation.
店に来るたびに酔いつぶれるなんて迷惑な客だな、おい。
I thought the kid was crazy to even bother each time when... The guy threw up like crazy. That kid actually cupped his hands over the guy's mouth to keep the vomit contained. He didn't so much as flinch, and without even a look of disgust after...
お騒がせしてすみません。使ってない桶があれば借りてもいいですか？
He didn't so much as flinch, and without even a look of disgust after getting his hands covered in vomit, he said,
お騒がせしてすみません。使ってない桶があれば借りてもいいですか？
He apologized for the vomiting and even paid for the guy's drinks. After paying, he lifted the guy onto his back and kept asking about where the man lived as he carried him out of the bar. I couldn't help but look on in bewilderment.
典型的ないい子ちゃんだね。
Yeah, I was definitely a jerk back then. I sure as hell didn't want to get involved, so I simply watched them leave with cold eyes. You think that was the end, right? Well, guess again.
またかよ。
Lo and behold, they were there again. What was different was that the man was in a slightly decent state, and this time they were having a proper conversation. I just had to hear what they were talking about, so I took a seat near them to eavesdrop on their conversation. Get what the drunk was saying?
死にたい。殺してくれ。俺なんかかばったせいで娘は王族の自動車にひかれて無残に死んじまったんだ。
I dropped my glass the moment I heard what he said.
妻はとっくに呪いで死んで、俺にはあの子しか残っていないから、あの子だけでも間に合うようライバーになるための金を稼いできたのに。
So, in summary, he was drowning himself in booze out of guilt and regret over losing his daughter.
王族相手じゃ罪を問うことすらできねえからな。下手すりゃこっちが消される羽目になる。
Not wanting to get dragged into their mess, I was about to move to another seat when... Элс говорит, можешь в паре предложений рассказать про новелку? Про сюжет? Постараюсь. Сначала про сеттинг. Новелла проходит на острове Арпешел, острове-государстве, управляемом королевской семьей. И по причинам особо мощных течений и чего-то еще, изолированным от остального мира. Некоторые вещи пробиваются течением, но никто, насколько известно пока, не может покинуть остров. Считается, что на острове лежит проклятие смерти. Ну, проклятие не проклятие, а по достижении возраста 23 лет все умирают. Многие не достигают даже этого. Это как-то связано с неким заболеванием или другого сорта повреждением легких. Люди начинают кашлять кровью и... В общем... Чем ближе к 23 годам, тем ближе они к смерти. Однако около 80-100 лет назад великим ученым Сиеном Брофиазом была изобретена технология релайверов. Это технология, которая позволяет создать новое тело и перегрузить в него свои воспоминания, даже какую-то часть своих эмоций, однако сильные эмоции не пересаживаются. Например, эмоции любви исчезают после переселения в новое клонированное тело. И в этом новом теле ты можешь прожить еще 23 года. Ну, еще до 23 лет. И так настолько долго, насколько ты сможешь позволять себе приобретать право стать релайвером, поскольку это стоит некоторых денег и есть определенная очередь на создание этих тел, которая может занимать даже несколько лет. Наша главная героиня, протагонист, девушка Серес, о которой ходит дурная молва. Говорят, что она и есть воплощение самой смерти. Дело в том, хотя об этом пока что не знает никто, кроме таинственного Анку, который мы пока не знаем, кто такой, представляющийся смотрителем смерти, и нее самой никто больше не знает, что в действительности она может ускорять течение проклятия. Она может ускорять то, как быстро люди умрут. Тем самым принося смерть и несчастье. Она жила грустную жизнь из-за этого, поскольку все вокруг нее умирали, и чем ближе люди были к ней, тем быстрее они умирали. В итоге ее стали ненавидеть практически все, однако недавно, будучи вовлеченной в расследование дела одного серийного убийцы, она смогла частично исправить свою репутацию. Сейчас она работает вместе с Ивом и Хьюго, членами местной гражданской полиции, а также членами организации Курун. По сути, агентство таких мастеров на все руки, которые помогают местным жителям. Так вот, она присоединилась к ним, в основном помогая им с готовкой, с бухгалтерией, счетами, вот этим вот всем. Это вот в общих чертах. Новелла очень мрачная. Сейчас мы еще на относительно светлом эпизоде, но новелла постепенно скатывается в мрачняк. Ближе к финалу каждого эпизода у нас новые и новые трагедии, и в конце каждого из аутов нас ждет некоторое количество плохих концов. Потом в дальнейшем мы наконец закончим все плохие концы, которые есть в игре, пройдем через все, после чего сможем увидеть хорошие концовки, которые пока что от нас скрыты. Ну и в общем мы тут думаем над загадками, которые окружают это место. Загадками смертей, загадками убийств и убийц, самоубийц, загадкой проклятия, которая является самой главной загадкой истории. Not wanting to get dragged into their mess, I was about to move to another seat
あ
when...
なたが飲んでいたのは全部人によっては口にするだけで混沌するような強いお酒だ。そんなお酒を毎日浴びるように飲んでたってことは亡くした娘さんを追おうとしてたんじゃ。
Я рад, что смог интересно пересказать. I froze in place the moment I heard the kid's low voice speak with certainty.
ああ、その通りだよ。自死する決心がつかなかったから酒の力を借りようと思って。けど結果はご覧のありさまだ。毎日毎日吐砂物と酒にまみれて情けないったらな。
どんな手段を用いようがそれほど誰かを愛することができたあなたを俺は心から尊敬する。同時にそこまで愛される素晴らしい女性だっただろう。娘さんのことも。
The kid spoke in a way unlike his age and stopped the man from berating himself.
黙れ、お前に何やわが。
ただ自分を苦しめるためのお酒にお金を費やすぐらいならまずは彼女にふさわしい綺麗な花の一つでも墓前に備えてあげようよ。娘さんが眠ってから一度も会いに行ってないよね。お酒に溺れるのはその後でも遅くない。
What the kid said probably made him remember his daughter's grave, which he was trying to forget. The man wept the bitter, heartbroken tears of a child. He hadn't gone to her grave, not even once. The kid spoke with such conviction that...
まさかあいつわざわざおっさんを慰めるための情報を探し回ったってのか。
Didn't he know that he could be in danger for uncovering what the royal family did? I couldn't believe my ears. Suddenly, I felt ashamed for how judged this young kid, for having judged this young kid for his actions. I finally decided to speak to him as he watched the man walked out with a new resolve.
なあ、見ず知らずのおっさんのためになんでそこまでのことができるんだ。
He wouldn't gain anything from helping him. Anyone who became a reliever would forget all the goodness and compassion they got. In response to my brash question,
俺にとっては彼も大切な同郷の人間だから。
this kid Yves said it like it was only natural. I then investigated Yves' past and found out about you. I also heard his version, which contradicted it. He was looked down upon by others. Despite that, Yves did everything he could to love and save each person, like only a fool would. He was so bright that looking at him made my heart retch. It was about then that I realized the pathetic way I'd lived my life until then. I wanted to become a man who would decide on his own how to live his life. With a new resolve, I ran away from home, expecting to be disowned. I decided to live my life with Yves at Kurun and get myself involved in others' lives. It took a while to get used to life in Kurun, but it was fun as heck hanging out with Yves. Before long, he became the kind of a partner I could spend all day with. No, he became a brother to me.
けど、そんなあいつも数年以内に呪いによって死ぬ。あいつとの暮らしを続けるため、そしてあいつが求める愛とやらを手に入れさせるため、俺はあいつがリライバーになるための資金調達を手伝ってんだ。
So to you, Yves he's a family, a person you're indebted to for changing the way you see life. Which was why you want to know what my intentions are, since I've already harmed him and brought him so much misery. I guess it's only natural to want to know.
ああ、同情か、罪悪感か、それとも。
I suppose Hugo knew from the beginning that I was death, and had been waiting for the opportunity to talk to me. Hugo, after being inspired by Yves 4 years ago, he left home and abandoned his previous life. Since then, he has worked at Kurun and helped lay the foundation of their business. In response to his inquiry, safe. Klopp writes that Twitch is dying. Is Twitch okay for everybody else? How's the stream for you? Can you please tell me? Like, can you hear me and stuff? Let me check. Okay, bitrate seems to be normal. Fine. I guess it's fine then. Maybe it's on his side or in his region. I'm sorry. I can't fully answer your question. There are so many emotions that Yves brings out in me that I simply can't put it into words, to the point I can't breathe. The only thing I could say for sure was, being with Yves and the connection I now have with others because of Yves has brought joy to my life. Everyone is so precious to me that I don't want to lose them. Even the time itself is precious to me. I know I don't have the right to hope for anything I've said.
いいんじゃねえの。優しい彼が好きだから支えたいとか、こびられるよりずっといい答えだ。
It seemed my answer satisfied him. Hugo tipped his glass toward me, and I tapped it with mine. The clink rang softly through the glass with only ice remaining.
おかえり、ヒューゴ。彼女のこと、ちゃんと施設まで送ってくれた？
Immediately upon returning to Adolphus, Hugo waved his hand in response to the sleepy-eyed Yves who was propping himself up against the doorway.
おお、 ついでに酒場で2人熱い相引きをしてきたわ。
あ、仲間外れなんてひどい。次は俺が休みの時に誘ったよね。彼女におすすめの店があるんだ。
動揺一つしねえのかよ。からかいがいがねえな。
二人が俺抜きで話せたことの方が嬉しいから。
Eve had probably been standing outside to cool down and watch Rodolphe drag off the other drunkards. With a reddened face, Eve straightened up and wobbled from the doorway. He slowly shook his head.
7年前のこと、とうとう彼女の口から聞けたんだ。ずっと気にしてたもんね。
まあな。なあイブ、お前本当に。
恨んでないよ。その感情自体、すべての人を愛すると決めた過去に置いてきた。
Eve shook off his drunkenness for a moment to share his honest feelings.
ああ、そうかい。お前が気にしてないなら、俺もどうこう言うつもりはねえよ。
After observing Hugo's reaction, Eve continued in a casual way.
でもヒューゴはセレスのことが苦手でしょ？
Hugo couldn't hold back his surprise. It was an emotion that he had kept secret all this time, so that others wouldn't notice.
で、いつから？
But Eve noticed.
一緒に過ごすうちになんとなくかな。最初に違和感を覚えたのは彼女に初めてお茶を入れてもらった時だけど、まあ厳密には彼女個人を嫌っているわけじゃなく、俺の火傷にまつわることや彼女がもたらすという不幸が自分や俺にもたらされる可能性を気にしてるんだろうけど。
正解だよ、ちくしょう。知ってるならどうして今まで黙って。
Hugo stopped mid-sentence.
俺が正直に言ってりゃ、お前は妥当な落としどころを見つけたよな。お前にふさわしい優しい兄貴分を演じようと見栄を張ったのは俺だ。お前はそんな俺の見栄に応じただけ。そうだろ。
時間が解決してくれるかもっていう期待もあったけどね。それで
俺にどうしろって？心を悔い改めて彼女と本心から打ち解けろってか？
いや、別に何もしなくていいよ。というかむしろヒューゴは何かと我慢しすぎじゃない？
は？
そりゃ俺だって二人が本心から仲良くなってくれた方が嬉しいよ。けど相性の良し悪しなんていくらでもあるし、彼女が何かと不思議な事象に縁があるのも本当のことだ。
There was no real method to prove without a doubt that she was truly death.
いい子だから怖がるななんて言えないよ。俺のことを心配してくれてるんだったらなおさらね。
Of course, the fear he felt should be managed by reason. Making sure he didn't forget what he needed to say, Eve continued as he looked at his partner the same way as always.
このぐらいのことで俺が大事な相棒を嫌うと思った？
けど俺はお前の相棒として。
Eve offered the same love to everyone, even if they were evil or death itself.
平凡な娘一人を恐れて迫害まがいのことをするなんて、軽蔑されても。
He was trying to say that he wasn't fit to be Eve's partner. But before Hugo could finish his sentence, Eve smiled, as if to deny it before it could be spoken.
君は君が思ってるほどひねくれた人間じゃないよ。むしろ優先すべきものがはっきりしてる分、軽薄な愛を振りまく俺よりもずっと優しくて誠実だ。彼女のことだって俺のことがなかったら快く受け入れられたはず。違う？
Eve knew Hugo's silence was his reply.
それでも彼女を恐れることに後ろめたくなってしまうなら、俺が君の分まで彼女を人として愛するよ。だから安心して。
俺 お前のそういう傲慢なところが嫌いだわ。
そうだね。俺も俺自身のこういうところ結構嫌い。早くリライバーになってこの傷を消してただ一人の女性に愛を向けられるようになりたいな。
The helpless smile on Hugo's face would continue the following morning as his partner battled against a nauseating hangover. And here I would have a short pause. Well, a break time. I still don't have a break screen because I'm a lazy asshole. But it is manageable. Let me just put this, and I suggest for us to gather again in like 15 minutes. Take care, and thank you for staying with me. However, if you need something to attend, some stuff to do, or just got tired, feel free to go. Also, if you're intended to stay, please have something to drink or to eat, so you wouldn't starve. See you soon! I'm sorry, but I may have to end the stream for today. Of course, I'm planning to continue later. Just having some strong headache. And it makes it a bit harder to read properly and entertain people properly. It's very distracting. So I may need to just spend some time in resting so it wouldn't get worse. I'm sorry for ending it so abruptly. Of course, I'll leave the I'll leave text about it in the announcement channel on Discord server, and also I will save the record of the stream and later will upload it on my YouTube channel, so you will be able to watch everything we had today. And I still didn't add the link to my YouTube channel with records because I'm a damn ass, which is shameful. But yeah, sorry again for that. Please take care, and well, it's a bit earlier than I usually have that reminder, but please take care of your medical needs. Take your meds or supplements you may be taking if you accidentally forgot about them. On this, thank you for staying with me today, and see you next time. I'll probably rate someone. Just let me think a little bit on whom I'm going to rate. Whom am I going to rate? Well, I've read her last time, so it will be known as... I also hope I will feel better soon. I think I'll take medications and they may help, like some ibuprofen. Okay, that's a game I'm planning to stream myself in the future. So I will probably raid that channel. On the other hand, maybe no raid for today, because I will be streaming that myself later, and I would you to have fresh impressions at the moment. So just see you next time. Take care, and thank you for joining me today. Goodbye.